Now, the next thing we're going to turn into a component is our experience stack. So right click, create component, and create. Now let's change variant 1 to desktop, duplicate it, change variant 2 to tablet, and then change the width to 810 pixels. And let's change the padding to 48. Let's select our main heading here and change the size to 48 pixels. And let's change the line height to 1.2. Now, let's select the row stack and change the type to stack. Now, let's select the CTAs stack and change the height to fit content. And let's select our list stack and change the height to fit content as well. Now let's select our row stack and change the gap between items to 32 pixels. Now let's switch places between the list stack and the CTAs stack, just like this. And I think we are done with the tablet version, with the tablet variant. So let's duplicate it and rename variant 3 to phone. And now let's change the width to 390. Let's change the padding to 16 pixels. Then let's change the font size of our heading to 32 pixels. And let's change the gap between items to 48. Now let's change the font size of everything here to about 14 pixels. So I'm going to select all of the text layers here. And now let's change to 14 pixels. I think it looks much better, less tight. And with that, I think we are done with the experience component. So let's hover to our home page. And now we can create the testimonials component. So right click and create component. And instead of variant 1, let's change the name to desktop. Now let's duplicate desktop and change variant 2 to tablet and change the width to 810 pixels. And let's select our top stack, change the direction property to vertical. Let's change the font size to 64 pixels. And let's remove the max width property, also from the subheading. Now let's change the width of our main heading to, let's try 500 pixels, and make sure our align property on our top stack is set to left. Now let's change the gap between items. First of all, let's change the distribute property to start and the gap between items to 24 pixels. Let's change the height of these images. Right now they are too tall, so instead of 450, let's try 300. Yeah, I think it looks great. Let's also change the gap between items in our testimonials collection to 16 pixels. Yep, I think it works great. And now, before that, let's change the padding. Instead of 80 in our primary layer right here, the tablet layer, let's change that to 48 pixels. Just like this. And let's duplicate our variant and call our variant 3 phone. Let's change the width to 390. And let's change the padding to 16 pixels. And let's change the main heading font to 32 pixels. And now let's change the width to fill instead of 500 pixels. And let's change the gap between items in our top stack to 16 pixels. The next thing we're going to do is to select our container stack and change the gap between items to 48 pixels. Now let's select our testimonials collection and change the column number to 1. And then let's select our testimonial component and change the height to 450 pixels. Just like that. And I think we are done with this component. So let's go back to our home page, and our next component is the FAQ. So let's create a component. Let's change variant 1 to desktop, and let's duplicate desktop and call the second variant tablet and change the width to 810 pixels. Let's change the padding to 48 pixels, and then let's select our container stack and change the direction to vertical. Then let's select the main heading and change the font size to 64 pixels. And let's change the width to 600 pixels. Maybe 500 is better. And let's select our heading stack and change the height to fit content. And let's also select our top stack and change the height to fit content. Let's select our container stack and change the gap between items to 64 pixels. Now it looks much better. So let's duplicate our tablet variant and create a new variant which we will call phone. Let's change the width to 390. Let's change the padding to 16. Let's select our heading and change the size to 32 pixels and change the width to fill. Just like that. Let's remove the max width of our subheading, and let's change the gap in our heading stack to 16 pixels. Now we need to create the mobile version of FAQ item. So let's do just that. First of all, let's cut FAQ list and paste it right here outside. And let's delete all of the items except one. And let's click on the FAQ item. Let's right click on the FAQ item and detach instance. And let's right click again and create component. Let's name this one FAQ item phone and let's click create. Now let's change variant 1 to closed. Let's set the height to 52. Let's change the width of our number to fit content. Let's select our top stack and let's change the distribute property to start and change the gap here to 16 pixels. Now let's select the main heading and change the font size to 14 pixels. And let's select our icon and change the width and height to 20 pixels. Now let's duplicate our closed variant. Let's change the name to open. Change the height to fit content instead of fixed. And let's select our bottom stack and change the opacity to 1. Now from our primary variant, let's delete the div frame just like this. And now let's use this icon, connect to navigate, and drag it to the open variant. And the interaction is on click. And let's do the opposite. And now let's change this icon to minus. Let's open the preview and see how it looks. Yep, it looks great. Now let's go back to our component right here, and we can just grab FAQ list and paste it in our container right here. So now instead of 200 pixels, we need to change the height to fit content. Now let's make sure we don't have any interactions here. So let's just remove them. And let's duplicate FAQ item 7 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now let's create variables for our text layers. So let's open the component. So let's start with the number right here. So from the right panel, let's click on content, create variable, plain text. Let's change that to number. Now let's select the main heading, create variable, plain text. This one will be title. Now let's select the text layer inside the content stack and click on content, create variable, plain text, and change the name to content. Make sure to select yes in text area. Now let's go back to our FAQ component. And as you can see, everything here can be changed. All of the texts here can be changed. So I'm going to change all of the texts and I will be right back. So as you can see, I have updated all of the text layer right here. So let's open the preview and see how it looks. And I think it looks great. It works great. And we are done with this part. Let's go to our home page and we have the final section, which is the footer. So let's right click on our footer stack and create component. Now let's name variant 1. Let's rename variant 1 to desktop. Let's duplicate desktop and name variant 2 to tablet. Let's change the width to 810 and let's change our main heading right here. Instead of 120 pixels, let's try 80 pixels. And let's change the width to 700 pixels. And this image could stay just about the same size. And I think everything here in the top section could stay just the same. I think everything here can stay the same. So let's move on to the bottom part. Let's change the size, the text size, to 200 pixels, maybe 300. Let's duplicate the tablet variant, change variant 3 to phone. And let's change the width to 390. And now let's change our main heading here to, let's say, 40 pixels. Let's try 50. Let's change the width to fill. And we need to change the direction of this stack right here. So let's change that to vertical. And let's change the distribute property to start. And let's change the gap between items to 32. Let's select this text layer and change the font size to 18 pixels. And let's select the primary phone layer and change the padding to 16 pixels. Now let's select this stack right here and let's change the direction to vertical. Now let's increase the font size of these text layers to 32 pixels. And then let's select these icons and change the width and height to 24 pixels. Let's also make sure that the LinkedIn, Instagram, and Dribble stacks are set to overflow visible, just like this. And let's change the gap between them to 16 pixels. Just like that. And now let's select this huge heading and let's change the size to, let's try 150. 120, yep, works great. And let's change the bottom stack height to 300 pixels. Okay, let's select our phone variant and let's remove the padding. And let's select our container stack and add a 16 pixels of padding. And that's it for this component. Let's go back to our home page. So now we are done with the components. So let's create our first breaking point, which is the tablet breaking point. So to do that, we need to click on the plus icon right here where it says breakpoint and select the tablet option. And now, as you can see, everything is in here in the tablet version. Let's see if Framer managed to select the right variant for our tablet version. So let's select the hero. And as you can see, the variant is set to tablet. Also here, the variant is set to tablet. Here things start to get a little messy, but the variant is correct. We just need to change the width to fill. Again, tablet is the correct variant. Here we need to change the width to fill. And everything just looks great. Now it's time to create our phone breakpoint. So let's click on this plus icon right here and select phone. And now, as you can see, I think everything here is set to the phone variant. Yep, Framer got that one right. So as you can see, we have the desktop, the tablet, and the phone versions. Let's open the preview and see how it looks. So here is the desktop version. Here is the tablet version. Everything looks great. So far, so good. Let's see our phone version. Yep. I spot a problem right here. So let's fix that. Yep, we need to change the width of the accordion stack to fill. Now let's open up the preview and see if that changed anything. Yep. Also, we need to change this part right here. So let's double click and let's select our FAQ list. Let's select our FAQ list stack and change the width to fill. Now let's open the preview and let's check. Let's see if everything works. Yep, it works. Looks great. So I think that's it for today's lesson. And let me know in the comments if something is not clear, if you have any question, any concerns, and I will see you in the next lesson.